Shalom Aleichem for Shabbos Shoftim. Mishnah Yomi is in Bava chapter 9, the second to last chapter here in Bava Metzi on the horizon. We are in Mishnah Dalet Hey today. Hanotein tzemer litzoba. Someone gives his wool to the dyer. Now, tzoba with the tzadi is not the same as saba, grandpa. But if you're both a saba and a tzoba, you can have a lot of fun with your advertising for your dyeing business. Anyway, someone gives his wool to the dyer to dye it a certain color. And he burned it in the pot. So now the wool is ruined. Notin lo demei. Tzamro has to pay back the full value of the tzemer. This is akin to a gazlan who made a shinui. His kone with the shinui must pay back the value at the time he received it. Tzvayu chor, he dyed it, but it's kind of weak. Instead of like bright red, it's sort of a faded, weaker red. So ima shevach yoter al yetzia. If the improvement in value of the wool is greater than the expenses, no tein lot yetzia, then the customer gives the craftsman who made a mistake, he didn't dye it as well as he should have, he gives him only the expenses, not the shevach, which is the greater amount. Now the kati actually brings, if the agreed upon wage was even less, then he would give him the wage. He gives him the less amount of the shevach or the yetzia. Obviously, if he spent more on the raw materials, if the craftsman spent more on the raw materials and the firewood, then on the shevach, he would receive the lesser amount, meaning the improvement or the wages. And then here, I'm speaking out in advance, if the expenses to produce this weekly dyed wool was more than the shevach, than the improvement in value, no, to not the shevach. He gives him the shevach. Again, according to Kahati, gives him the wages if those are the lowest amount. Litzboalu adom, he hired him to dye it red, utzvau shahor, but he dyed it black, shahor tzvau adom, or vice versa. Rabbi Meir Omer, no tilo demeit samro. Rabbi Meir says, give him the value of the raw wool. It's akin to a gezela. He made a shinui in the item. He's like a gazlan, and he was kones. He has to give him the full value. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, meshevach yetzer letzia. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, it's like the case of a mistake. If the improvement in value is more than the expense, noting that if the expenses in dyeing it was more than the improvement of value, notin lo et hashevach, it would give him the improvement. So Rabbi Yehuda is looking at as sort of a objective. Well, black wool is worth more than undyed wool, even though the customer wanted red wool. So there is an objective improvement, even though it's not exactly what the customer ordered. On to Mishnah, gozil et chaveru shavapruta. Someone stole from his friend even a shavapruta, the smallest amount that we recognize in halacha as an amount you have to return, v'nishbalo, and then he made a shavua. He made an oath that he didn't owe him anything. Now this is a whole parsha in the Torah. It's in Vayikra chapter 5, and it's in Bamidbar chapter 5, Psukim 6-7, that if somebody stole something belonging to someone else, and then he swears falsely that he didn't do it, that he's exempt, and then later he admits he was lying, now there's an additional layer of penalty. He owes a chomesh, a fifth of the value, and he brings a korban asham. Because he hasn't only sinned against the victim of his theft, he's sinning against Hashem by denying and lying and saying he never did anything wrong. And it's a reminder, we're in the first week of Elul, that sins against our fellow man are also against Hashem, because Hashem wants us to love our fellow Jews, to appreciate and be kind to our fellow human beings just as much as ourselves. So really, infringing the rights of another human being is really against what Hashem wants from us. So it's a nice reminder to Elul. Anyway, so here the gazlan is stolen, then he's denied it, he's taken an oath denying it. Now he needs to do tshuva, he has to bring him back, his pruta, even to Madai. Now Madai is Media, it's somewhere next to Persia. The Persians and the Medes sometimes work together. So if he's over in Eretz Yisrael, maybe he's in Rome, whatever it is, he has to go personally and appease the victim that he not only stole, but he lied to, God forbid. Lo yiten, lo livnoi v'lo lishluch. He can't give it to his son. If the guy went overseas on business and he left his son locally, not to his shliach, not to his agent. But if he really can't get there, he could give it to the agent of the court. So it's not enough to give the repayment and the apology, privately just to the guy's son or his household or his employee. But if he goes to court and gives it to the court and they're going to give it to the victim when he gets back in town, that'd be enough. Now, this is a situation where it's impossible for the thief to go after him and actually get it. And the idea here is we don't want to close the door to people to do tshuva. Maybe the guy, he wholeheartedly wants to do tshuva. He wants to make it right. He stole a pruta. He lied about it. He needs to make it right. He feels terrible, but he can't go to Madai. He can't go to Spain. He can't go to Antarctica to track the guy down. It's impossible. We don't want to shut the door in his face. We want to make a takana for shavim. We want to make it easy a little bit for people who really want to do tshuva, so the court will accept his tshuva. If the victim of the original theft has passed away, yachzir liyorshav, then you could return the value of the stolen property to his heirs and give them, of course, an apology to complete the tshuva process. Tisku the mitzvot.